GM of the studio, lead designer for the game, gave us from the very beginning was he never, ever, ever wanted there to be a situation, under any circumstances, where any character was completely ineffective as a damage-dealing character. So that means that there is no way in our game that you can spec yourself to be pure healer. You will always be part of the fight. You will always be able to deal damage, take damage. Obviously, there's a variable sort of spectrum of how sort of durable you'll be. You know, if you're a cloth caster, you're not going to stand up to you know, a close-range melee damage character for very long, but you'll be able to hold your own long enough that you'll have escape mechanisms and so forth, like a shaman can pull himself up and fly backwards.
Healers in our game are some of the most powerful characters by far, I would say. Not because they kill enemy players so well, but because they're so versatile. It's really important in PvP that everybody has a real good role. Our tanks in PvP have a good role, our melee DPS, our ranged DPS, and our healers do. And all of them are made to fight. They just kind of have other things that they can do too, like heal. And
we have, for example, melee healers. People who we expect to be right up on the front lines, punching you in the face and healing their friends. Which is one of the reasons we put a dual targeting system in, where you will have a hostile target and a friendly target, so you don't have to be toggling back and forth. We want you, if you're a warrior priest, out there kicking ass and keeping Jeff alive.
That's important.
As a Camelot player, something that I was really looking forward to, and I haven't really seen much on, are there going to be multi-factional areas like Labyrinth in the game, where there's going to be that, you know, where you come in different areas, but there's that whole central point, there's a really good mishmash of fighting, but it's not like one front door.
So are you looking for specifically RVR Dungeon? Or,
Well,
because there's a lot of places in our game that are multi-factional areas. Like
but I mean, is there going to be something like the Labyrinth, where it's a essentially a multi-factional dungeon, an RVR dungeon, where you don't know who's around the next corner?
So we don't have plans for launch to have an RVR dungeon, just like in Camelot we didn't have an RVR dungeon at launch, but we talk about it a lot. That's the best hint I'm going to give you.
Favorite places to hang out. So
we do have you again.
Yes, considering that your game is not for Care Bears, it is PvP focused, but it's RVR. Will you implement some sort of system to allow guilds of the same faction to settle disputes? Like in SWG, you could declare a war on another guild and then fight it out, and then come out top dog and suppress them so they join you.
So let me words it in a way that let me address a couple of things there. So our game is, you say our game's not for Care Bears. So we're a PvP game. We want people to go fight each other. But if you want to come out and not PvP, I just want to make it clear, you can. You can come out and PvE in our game to your heart's content. As a matter of fact, you can sit in the first area for your entire career and craft if you want. We want you to come out and play and have a good time. So I just wanted to address it really quick. Right, got it. So the other half of that, can anyone really fight amongst themselves within the realm? The answer is generally no. We don't want to encourage that at all. The players in your realm are on your side, and everything that we do in the game, we encourage that. Realm pride is what makes Dark Age of Camelot great. If any of you have played it, it is the thing that nobody gets about Dark Age of Camelot, is realm pride. The feel that that guy, even though I may not love him, and we may not shake hands when we pass by each other, when the realm comes under attack and something's going on, you better believe we're shoulder to shoulder fighting with each other, not against each other. So we try really hard to stay away from that. It has its merits, but it's something that we just don't push very hard in our game. Thank you. Sure.
Are there going to be any special gear rewards for the top RVR players? So you have the statues in the city so you can see it, but is there going to be anything that can distinguish the player on the battlefield? Like one big thing that came up was the Chosen, the fur cloaks, like they have in the Market Chaos trailer, where you'll be out on the battlefield and see like a line of Chosens, and one has this awesome fur cloak on. You're like, hey, that's one of the top RVR players right now. I want to stay away from it.
There's three things. One is titles. So there are 80 renown ranks in our game at launch. Every 10 renown ranks, you get a new title. Your enemies can see your title. Your friends can see your title if you want them to see it. So that's one way of distinguishing yourself on the battlefield. There are, and I want everybody to understand this, our renown ranking system has a lot of different rewards, one of those being armor. So There are special armor rewards, depending upon your renown rank, that you can, by achieving a certain renown rank, go to your, what do we call them, your war masters, and get from them specific types of armor sets. These are some of the best armor in the game, as a matter of fact, especially at the high level. High renown rank guys will be very distinguishable by their armor. And then the third thing is trophies. So, especially from the Tome of Knowledge, by getting unlocks in the Tome of Knowledge, including RVR unlocks, whether you kill 1,000,000 of this, or 1,000 of that, or capture this keep, or whatever it happens to be, our Tome of Knowledge is an achievement-based system. And through the Tome of Knowledge, one of the things you get is trophies. So you might be able to hang the head of, King Thorgrin on your shoulder. And when people see you on the battlefield, they'll see his head, and they'll know that you were one of the guys who actually killed him. So we do a lot of that kind of stuff. The other thing that we do is certain dyes in our game, certain colors, are only available for certain rewards. So they might be rewards from high-level RVR quests, or for doing certain things in the game. So for example, blood red, nobody can get it, except if you're a badass RVR. You got blood red armor.
Devastating pink.
Okay, you were talking about guilds earlier. Besides somebody running up and saying, hey, I want to be in your guild, or you go to the guild tavern and you're looking for a specific guild and they're not in it at the present time, are there any plans for like guild halls for a specific guild at a certain level?
So do you want to know about guild halls, or do you want to know how players can find guilds?
Well, I'm assuming that if there's a guild hall, I can go to that guild and say, I want to be with you guys.
So there's no plans for guild-specific halls or housing at launch.
It's a cooperative game. We want you to be hanging out with the other guilds. We want you forming alliances. We don't want you running off into your super-duper uber guild and then never speaking to anyone else, because you won't be able to dominate and accomplish everything in the game as one guild. You will need to ally with the other people in the game. You will need to fight alongside those allies. And as a result, we want you interacting with them. We want you socializing with them. We want you planning with them. So if you're going to access these super sexy things that we only give to guilds, you have to go to the communal guild hall. You need to mingle with people. We have a belief that sort of just proximity to other players is the best way to sort of advocate on behalf of socialization, coordination, cooperation, and so forth.
That's not to say that we don't have tools in the game so that single players, solo players can find guilds. We absolutely do. We're looking for guild tools, and guilds looking for more players' tools.
We all know that there are PvE areas and RVR areas in every zone, but given that war is everywhere, are there any plans to have server rule sets where there are no PvE areas and everything's an RVR area?
Not at launch.
What are your plans for the SKAVEN?
They're dirty rat men.
You'll see them in the game.
SKAVEN are already NPCs in the game. I can't tell you more plans.
How do you plan to facilitate play between players of different levels? For instance, if my friends have played the game for 3 or 4 months, I just join in, how do we play each other?
You level up.
Wow!
There is some facilitation. We're as soft on that as we can, so you can group with higher level players. The problem is, especially when you talk about RVR is a place that we don't want high level players coming down and playing with the low level players. So yeah, so you're welcome to come down as a high level player, but you're not going to like it very much. But in PvE, the high level players can come down and help you. They can go through PQs with you and stuff. But it's definitely not going to be as rewarding as it would be if you were playing with your own level.
And our 1 to 40 progression is not super difficult. I mean, we're looking at this being a game where we want you in that 4th tier. We want you to be part of the campaign. We don't want you spending 2 years as a casual player getting to level 4.
My question may have already been answered.
We'll let you know if it was, and we won't answer it again.
And I don't read all the facts and stuff online and stuff like that. But are all the other races going to be represented in the game? Well, obviously SKAVEN, but what about like vampire counts, tomb kings, things of that sort, the lizard men, the slan, all that kind of stuff?
So
I assume PvE, not obviously as player characters, but
so some of them are represented already. We have, as you all know, we have a massive world to draw from. we can't get everybody into the game right now, but we will continue to draw as we move forward over the years and years to come as Warhammer Online launches and does awesomely well, to incorporate more and more of the world, not just NPCs, but more types of player characters probably, more places to play, more things to do. So right now we have some, not everyone.
So a few of them are in NPCs?
Sure.
All right.
In the Guild podcast, you talked about standard bearers, all the cool things you could do with Guild standards. You briefly mentioned that, hey, the opponents can actually capture your standard. I was wondering what kind of benefits there are to capturing your opponent's standard. Do you get to hang it up in your guild hall and throw feces at it?
If only Jeff had just done another podcast on this.
Maybe I just have.
Maybe he just did.
That's right, don't blow it.
See, the man behind the camera wants this answer.
So we've talked about a lot of different things that we'd love players to do with captured enemy standards, as far as taking them and doing all sorts of crazy things with them. It's really hard to do because while you want it to be bad for the guild to lose their standard, you don't want it to be so bad that they won't take their standard out on the battlefield. You want them to have them out all the time, but if you make it so bad when they lose them, because you die in RVR a lot, and so you pull out your standard and it's gone, and you're like, crap, I can't summon my standard for 10 days. That sucks. So what we've tried to do is balance out what you can do as the capture, what kind of rewards you get, what kind of penalties you get as the person who loses them. It's still under discussion, but it's generally not going to be these huge, horrible penalties or these massive rewards, though there are good things. For example, when you bring your standard out on the battlefield, you plant it in the ground, you actually get a renown bonus for fighting around your standard as a realm. If an enemy captures your standard, they get renown just for capturing your standard. They also get what we call banner scraps. So banner scraps can be used to turn in for RVR armor sets throughout the game. So you have reasons to go and capture your enemy's banner besides just, I captured your banner.
Okay, I know that when you reach the enemy capital, determining whether you successfully invade or not is a sharded instance where everything is eventually tabulated. No? Okay, well anyway, what I want to know is once you succeed at that and get inside and it's time to take on the two sub-bosses and the king, are those similarly sharded? Are they single encounters? And if single, do you have to be a large organized group, or is it like you just run in and beat hell?
This is like a 30-minute answer.
I'll accept a 30-second one.
There is a second one. Some of it's instance, some of it's not. We instance based upon a number of things. What's the fun number? What's the number that we want players? Like, we have a certain space in the city. If you put 1,000 players in that space, is it fun? I can tell you, no, it's not. It's horrible. There's people running all around bumping elbows. Remember, we have collision in RVR, so we have all these small spaces in the cities, and so we've been playing with this for over a year now. So we're trying to come up with the fun number in every one of these areas. The other thing that comes down to is things like the king. He's a PvE encounter, generally, and so we don't want to just allow a mad rush into him. He is the ultimate. Thanks, Josh. He's the ultimate encounter in the game, and we want players to be severely challenged by him. We want ass-kicking by the king onto players for months, so that we can laugh at you from the king. So. That's another reason that we instance and population cap. And right now, the king is 24 people. That's what we're balancing him for. So if we let 50 people in, it's not going to be a fun encounter. You're just going to roll over it. So it's that kind of stuff. I can answer more afterwards if you want to come. I'll tell you. It just takes a long time.
I'll sit down.
In the Quest podcast, Paul had talked about you have to go through kill bears and bears and bears. It'll all record it once you find a quest guy who wants you to kill bears. I had the chance to play a little bit of PvE earlier today, and I didn't see that it was actually working. Is it something that's going to be in release?
I think you should ask Paul that question.
But he's not here.
He's in Denmark. That's all we're telling you.
So the way that it works, to clear this all up for everybody, some people will love this answer and some people won't. So yes, there are things that work that way, but not everything works that way. That's the answer. So in each chapter, there are one or two guys who hate certain types of monsters in the area. Okay? If you go to them and you haven't killed any of those monsters and talk to them, they'll give you some hint text and be like, I hate bears. I really hate them. I wish somebody would kill some bears. On the other hand, if you've never talked to them, you don't have to talk to them. If you just wander around the area and you're doing quests and you're killing bears, and you walk back into the area, he'll have a bing above his head. You walk over to him and he says, I hate bears. You killed some bears. And then he'll give you a reward for it. So it's kind of it's a kill quest. We call it kill collector. And so there are a whole bunch of these throughout the world, but not everything in the entire world is based upon this. So sometimes you see it, sometimes you won't.
Thanks.
Thanks.
Hello. Hey, as designers, all right, is there anything unique?
There are no designers here.
None?
Go ahead.
Is there anything unique to Warhammer compared to other games that you've designed that's been like a roadblock you've faced that's memorable that you guys have been able to get by, or something that you really wanted to incorporate in the game and you weren't able to?
There's like 1,000 things like that. I hate to call them roadblocks. There's lots of challenges to being true to the IP. It's super important that we're true to the IP. So there are lots of things that we've had to do to make sure that we remain faithful. But it's not a difficulty for us. I don't want it to sound that way. We are faithful, and we're true believers. And so when we see something, we just work around it. And Games Workshop works with us really well. Like there are things that we have done that we went to them and said, well, I don't know if you guys like this. And they're like, oh yeah, that's great, put it in. And so sure, it's been a challenge. Sure, there are things that maybe we would have done differently if we weren't using the Warhammer IP, but we don't even think about that because we are using the Warhammer IP and we're proud of it and we're faithful to it. So, yeah.
Quick version would be, what does a Chaos Healer look like? There isn't one initially, so we worked with GW to come up with the Zealot. And that basically involved us being locked in a room with Alan Merritt and having him just go crazy, crazy, crazy stuff. That was a really good idea, steal it.
Yes, in the game when it comes out, besides the mount you might be forced to ride when you get to a certain level, is there to be any rare mounts you can achieve?
More info on mounts coming later.
Yeah.
Next.
The answer is not no.
I don't know if we talked about crafting yet, but currently right now there seems to be several gathering professions and only 2 crafting professions. Is there a plan to implement more crafting professions over time, or are we just going to keep with the 2?
There is a plan to implement more crafting professions over time, but not before launch.
And you'll hear from Mark when it happens.
Yeah.
Okay. My question pertains to hacking and using third-party program. Coming from EverQuest to WoW, one of the big disappointments for our guild Baltimore was people getting 3-day suspensions for teleport hack and exploit. Are you guys going to be zero tolerance on that kind of stuff, or?
So we have been zero tolerance in Dark Age of Camelot. And so the answer is, in general, yes. We haven't solidified how we're going to do everything yet, but we take it very, very seriously. In Dark Age of Camelot, in general, our philosophy is if we can prove that you're doing something, and it's something that breaks our code of conduct, you're banned, and you will never come back unless you want to shell out 50 more bucks and come back with a new account.
All right, thank you.
All right.
Thank you, guys.
That's all the time we have, everyone. Thank you.